Welcome to Pacific Beer Chat podcast number 7. We've got Carnell from Burrard Inlet, Steve from Mike's Craft Beer, got Terry from West Coast Beer Geek, and me from Mike's Craft Beer. We're going to start out like we usually do with what's been going on lately. So, what about you, Carnell?
Not a lot over here. Unfortunately, I missed the last Tri-Cities Cast Festival, although I hear it was a great time and a really cool event once again, so I'll have to make it out to the one after that. This Friday, though, we have the first ever Coquitlam Craft Beer Festival up the hill. So I'll be heading to that on Friday and checking that out. Should be a good time. The only cool thing I can think of coming up, or the other cool thing I can think of coming up, is the collaboration beer with all the breweries over here in Port Moody.
Oh, that's right. When does that come out?
Should be coming out
Nice.
this month. Next week or the week after is what I would expect. It is a well-hopped Schwartz beer. So it's something the breweries decided that they probably never do by themselves. And the idea is going to be an annual beer between the 4 breweries with something they wouldn't normally brew each time. So I'm pretty excited for that one and the festival coming up as well.
May the Schwartz be with you, right?
I suppose so. You're into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Number 2's coming out.
It is. Steve?
Been kind of quiet lately. Last thing I went to was the Central City Winter Cask Festival with you, which is a ton of fun. That was a lot of fun. I don't remember the end too well, but the beginning and middle parts were a ton of fun. And it's always nice to actually see somebody showcase winter beers. They get overlooked an awful lot, and I love them. So I'm really happy to see that. And super excited to hear about the collaboration beer coming out of Coquitlam. So,
Port Moody.
Sorry?
Port Moody.
I always get that wrong. Sorry.
One of those Tri-Cities places.
Part of town.
Oh, man.
But that's about all I've been up to lately. Actually, well, I also cleared out my beer cupboard and realized I have an awful lot of beer. I should actually drink it. Oh yeah, and Mike, you and I had our brew day. It should be finished carbonating now, so whenever you and I can get together.
Yeah, see how bad? I mean, how good our first homebrew ever is.
Let's see how this goes.
I'm sure it'll get drank at the end.
Oh, yeah. How about you, Terry?
Let's see. Last event was same with the Central City Cask Festival. That was a lot of fun, and I remember most of the end, but not too much of the evening. So,
Whoops.
that's always that's a good, a better leave one.
Yes.
But yeah, no, that was a lot of fun, and let's see, on the horizon, not much of the next couple of months, but June is always a busy one, and I'll be hitting up the Washington Brewers Festival again over Father's Day weekend, which is probably my favorite festival of all of them. So
Nice.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it should be a good one.
Yeah, it's funny. There seems to be a lot of fests, but then no fests going on at the same time. Maybe I'm just saturated with all of them, but it just seems like there's, it comes and goes in these big batches of, like June is a crazy liver month.
Yeah.
You got it looks like Farmhouse Fest will return. Vancouver Craft Beer Week, and then all the other sort of summer festivals ramp up there, and usually Central City tries to sneak one in there too.
Those jerks. All right. I guess last Cask Fest I went to was the Central City one as well. But like usual, I've been ramping up the construction updates on breweries and been to a whole bunch since the last time we did a podcast. Checked out A-Frame up in Squamish to see what they're at. The new one out in East Van in the East Van district, Andina. Out Faculty out in Brewery Creek area. Fuggles and Warlock in Richmond. Been out to Hearthstone to look at their the lounge and see how far it's coming along, and it's getting there. Should be a couple more months and they should be open finally. I was also checking out Lupolo. It's really close to Strange Fellows, and that's they finally got their building permit, so they can start breaking ground. I went out to Moody Ales and saw they've expanded into their second side, and for their busy days, they're going to start having an overflow tasting room, so they'll be able to host a lot more people. And I was out in Chilliwack, checked out their new location, and they're about to triple in size with a brand new brewery, huge lounge. So that should be exciting for the Valley. And checked out Vern's new Parkside in Port Moody, which is looking to shape up to a great place too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does there with maybe a little bit more creativity options versus his last role.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had some creativity there, obviously, but, it'd be interesting to see what he's able to do in that spot. And already locally competing with quite a few breweries there. So
yeah, no doubt. Quite the street.
My plans for a Port Moody bus tour company are looking pretty solid right now.
Yeah.
For the breweries.
Until the SkyTrain opens.
Bus?
Oh no, I'll just start at one brewery and drive everyone to the next one.
Short ride.
Maybe one of those bicycle ones or whatever.
Yeah, those are scary too.
You know what? I worked it out, and it's a brewery every 100 meters on average.
Until you get to the far end, and then it's kilometers.
Yeah.
I hope they up the public transit there. Yeah, I hope they make the public transit there more frequent, especially at night.
Well, yeah, with that new SkyTrain, it should really speed up.
Yeah.
I guess one thing that'd be fun to do is why don't you sound off on what beer you're drinking right now?
Okay. I'll start. I've got the Salt Spring Island Ales Extra Special Bitter. Picked that up just a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago when I was on Salt Spring. I love going to the brewery there. It's in an old farmhouse. It's quaint. It's cute. And their staff are just going to keep pouring until you've tried everything. Which at that point was 8 beers. So pretty generous with the tasters.
Anyone else?
Next?
I'll go next. I've got the, let's see if I can show it here.
Ooh,
the Central City Barrel Aged Porter. Not the first one that they made when they did their 10th year anniversary. This is the next year version. So it's been in here for probably I think it's just over a year in the bottle, maybe a bit longer. And I've got it in my lovely stout glass here, which I quite enjoy. So it's the topic of the day.
Yep.
I'm drinking a beer that I drink quite often, so I might tell you about a beer I had the other day instead. But in any case, this is the Twin Sails Pilsner, which I've had, I think, the last few times. But it was nice I didn't think I'd ever have this experience, but I was at Bestie yesterday. Managed to get a stein full of Nectarus.
Nice.
That was pretty cool. Not just a stein, I actually had 2 steins, which is better than 1 stein, as it turns out. So that was fun.
Nice. And I've got one here that's not easy to get in Vancouver. It's where is it here? Torchlight Brewing, Warp 8.5 Cascadian Dark Ale from Nelson. They're a really small nano brewery, about half the size of Doan's Craft Brewing Company.
Wow.
And it's got my nice IPA glass. It's still an IPA because it's CDA. All right, and why don't we transition into the topic today? We're going to talk about glassware. And I guess how important is the proper glassware to all of you guys?
Super important.
Mm-hmm.
And, was that a dissenting opinion, an agreement?
Yes,
Yeah,
very important.
you go first.
Right, you guys can rip me apart later. No, I think glassware actually is super important. A couple of years ago, and this is a wine story, but it ties in. Totally didn't buy it. Thought it was all marketing. Wasn't into it at all. But I went to a tasting where it was all about the glassware. I went because they gave you a free set of glasses that were really expensive, and I thought that was cool. And they walked you through, poured the wine into the different glasses, and then made you move it between the glasses, and it changed it so much. And so I started experimenting with that with beer, and same thing. It's different in different glasses. So I think it's important to have the right glass, or at least something appropriate. There isn't one right one, but there are some wrong ones for sure. And anyone else?
Yeah, I love how you say you mentioned appropriate glassware. I think that's where I'm at. I like when the right glassware is around, but I hate it more when the wrong glassware is around, I think. And it's really nice when you have an option, or the brewery or restaurant you're at actually takes the time to find not necessarily the exact right glassware, because that's an expensive proposition, but at least when they can provide you something, like you say, that's appropriate, it really makes the experience better. It's no good drinking a stout from Hefeweizen glass.
No.
Yeah, and the is it the Nonic pint or whatever? It's not good for everything. It works good for pale ales and stuff. Maybe a lager, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Yep. And for reference, Nonic, right here.
Yep.
Also for ESBs. Oh yeah, Carnell too.
Yep.
Yeah, isn't that the classic English pint glass there, pretty much?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much.
The classic macro pint as well.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the shaker pint glass. Those things are nasty.
Yeah, was it one of these ones?
Ooh. Yeah, one of those.
One of those?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, I will throw a slight dissenting voice in there. Now, my opinion is the glassware gives you the last 5 to 10%, depending on the beer type. You know, when you're sampling beer, and even more importantly, when they're judging beer, in almost all cases, they're using a little plastic like Dixie cup.
Yep.
With an ounce in it. So, yeah, I always think of that and go, well, you know, am I overthinking it a little? Like, you know, the shape of the glass. I mean, here's a good one, a great example. This one here, if you can see it there. I mean, it has a nice, you know, it kind of cascades back in, so it's supposed to trap the aroma. But when you pour this much beer in it, you're not really trapping aroma at that point. You know, there's only a little bit of room left there, and when you pour the head there, it's like that much. So I start to question myself a little bit and thinking, I've had a lot of shaker pints. I've had a lot of little 4-ounce taster glasses, and you know, when you get right down to it, the stuff inside matters to me, you know, 90% more than what it's served in. And then I will say for some high aromatic beers, you get a little bit more out of a glass that has the right shape. But you kind of have to underpour to really experience that, and almost nobody does. So, you know, I mean, that will enhance your experience a little bit, depending if the aroma from the beer actually carries over, because it doesn't always. There's some beers that are very aggressively dry hopped, which gives it a really, really nice aroma, and then you take a sip and you're going like, what the hell happened? So sometimes I find it actually kind of takes it away, because it sets your expectations a little higher than the stuff inside. So I've had many different experiences with it, and I mean, I kind of use it more for kind of a functional process now. So the reason I like this glass is because of the shape. I can hold it here. It's not super thick like the other IPA glasses.
Uh-oh.
Nope.
Terry
is left in an epic pose.
A lot of stouts.
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Yep. A lot of stouts. Yeah, they taste a lot better at kind of cellar cask, and you know, and some of them right at room temperature. So I find, something that allows you to warm it up and get there faster is quite pleasant versus the actual, drinking experience.
I don't know if it's true, but I had heard that part of the idea of the shape of both the IPA glass and the stout glass was, as you got further down the glass, it actually helped agitate the beer a bit and cause a little more head and actually kind of release some of those aromas. And that was kind of the idea
the
for
IPA
these.
one is supposed to. And that's the one I would say probably makes the biggest difference, because IPAs are so aromatic these days. You do notice a little bit more, and it is supposed to drive flavor with every sip. But I go back to I've had Pliny the Elder out of a styrofoam hotel cup before. It was still pretty fantastic.
I believe it. Well, you drank Heady Topper out of the can.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a real eye opener too. I've done the comparison. It's better out of the can, and that shouldn't be. So that's some of those things kind of make you rethink it a little bit and think, okay, well, I certainly would never refuse a shaker pint. It is nice when it arrives in a fancy shaped glass and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you're getting a little bit more out of that maybe.
I also guess with stemmed glassware, it'll help you from heating the beer up too fast as well. If you want to, you can hold it by the stem, or you can hold it by the glass and warm the beer up, but you can kind of control the temperature of the beer a little better too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's why shakers are good for Pilsners, is because they're thick, so you don't warm the beer up very quickly. And sours, I like Tiku glasses. Those are, basically like a wine glass. You hold it by the stem. It doesn't, most sours you kind of want to drink a little colder, unless they're like a real heavy Belgian sour or something like that. But I find those too, it's really good to avoid warming the beer up because you don't want it to.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the other things I've seen is a lot of Belgian glasses, particularly the big open chalice types, have scoring along the inside to allow the carbonation to actually form more quickly and give better head retention.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just one of those things where, yeah, it may not help a lot with the beer, but it does give you that little bit of extra nice head on the top that does help with the aromas. And yeah, I agree with you. A bad glass won't break a beer. I'll have the shaker pint. I'll have the styrofoam cup, poisoning me as it may be, and still enjoy the beers. But at the same time, Mike, when you had what was it? The one that came in the copper bottle.
Oh, Sam Adams Utopias.
That's the one. And we tried it through a couple of different glasses. We had a whiskey glass, a couple of snifters, I forget what else. And something like that big and massive really did change from glass to glass. It wasn't bad in any of them, but it was interestingly different.
I guess when you're up in the 20s to 30% alcohol, it does change a little bit.
Just a touch.
Yeah, you want the big aroma before you take the sip on that one, right? Because you're
right,
and we were a snifter for that one.
Yeah, and we were underfilling, so we would get the effect of the glass too. So,
and to conserve the expensive beer.
That too.
Sorry, you had mentioned, and I wonder if this is true, the etching on the bottom of glasses. Now, my understanding that that laser etching was for what's it called? Head retention. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know so much about the Spiegelau glasses. I haven't looked into them, but in a lot of Belgian glasses, they'll etch inside.
Yeah.
And it offers a site for the carbon dioxide to actually form a bubble and then come up. So it increases how fast the carbonation comes out, and it keeps the head going.
So we've got high performance glasses out there.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I mean, there's, take any of this with a grain of salt. I don't know how much of that is marketing and how much is actually, that works.
Mm-hmm.
And, it seems reasonable to me based on the whole Diet Coke and Mentos thing, but that's what you're doing there. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely out to lunch on this.
I mean, I do have a Steamworks glass that has a laser etching at the bottom, and you can see it bubbling continually until you finish that beer. What are you looking at there, Cornell?
I was just looking at one. I got, I don't know if you can see it. Oh, maybe. There's some etching.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Dark Star glass. It's from the UK.
Nice.
Near Brighton. And, this is what I generally use for a big stout. And like you guys were saying, I'll usually warm it because I like my big stouts, most stouts, cellar temp, not freezing. But I noticed there's laser etching inside, like you guys were mentioning. And I had heard that, but I'd never had it confirmed, so it was nice to have that confirmed. And who knows? I'd never thought to think about it when I'm about to, dip into a big stout, but maybe next time I will.
Next time, pour your Pilsner and see if it bubbles a lot more.
That's a good call as well. Yeah. I'll have to do some science. For the sake of science, I'll have to drink some beer.
Good man.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say that is nice with the wider, kind of like the big tulip or snifter style glasses and the Belgian chalices is if you're pouring a really heavy carbonated beer, you don't want to pour that in a skinny glass. It's going to be all foam.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think that's another important thing and again, to me, it's more of a functional thing. I mean, the beer will be better because of that, because you're not pouring 80% foam, but you want it to be able to open up the foam to be able to come in there without rousing way too much, because then you're just going to have a foam bomb. So I think that's again a big functional thing there. And in Belgium, I mean, they're nuts about their glassware, right? Like,
oh God, they are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if they don't have the branded glass, you're not getting that beer until the glass is ready in a lot of places. So
wow,
which is interesting, right? Because I actually don't really care what is shown on the glass, other than for pictures, and people like that. But drinking it, I don't care.
It's very similar to locally here. We've got Beer Craft, and for the most part, they have all the different glassware too for each beer they serve. And at the Edmonton International Airport that I've been to a couple times lately, they have a Belgian beer bar there, and same thing, they have all the right glassware for all the beer they serve.
Ah, interesting.
It's kind of cool to be drinking like a Duchess de Bourgogne in the airport.
That sounds all right. I think the last time I was in the airport, I had a shock top or something. It was horrible.
Yeah.
But
that's when you order water, man. That's when you order water.
Yeah.
I don't know. Plane rides.
Or cocktails.
Yeah. It's good.
Don't like plane rides, I guess.
I know I don't mind plane rides, but I like them more when I've had a few.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you're mentioning Beer Craft, because they're one of the few places who do it fairly well in Vancouver. I think that's one of the most interesting things about this beer scene that's currently exploding, is that glassware seems to be the one thing that's left behind. Most pubs do a pretty poor job, I find, on their glassware. The best thing that I find can be often said about them is that they have the right glass, or they're willing to give you the glass you ask for. The thing I hate more than anything else is getting a beer in a frosted glass. It kills me, and it happens so often you wouldn't believe. Actually, you probably would believe it. You probably have a generally good idea of what it's like. But yeah, it's the worst. I think it happens more often at a craft beer bar, that they offer you a beer in a frosted glass.
Oh, see, I haven't seen that. Not at a craft beer bar, really.
Well, maybe I shouldn't say craft beer bar, but a pub or something that takes fairly good care of their beer list.
Sort of
I still see it happening
bar,
quite
trying.
often. Yeah, they're making an effort, but it seems to be the one thing that's sort of left behind. They may have the sour beer, they may have the cask night once a week, but the thing nobody seems to do very well or care too much about is glassware, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Good thing to mention here is why frosted glasses are so bad for your beer.
So many reasons.
Yeah, where to start?
Yeah,
it fits perfectly in the conversation.
Water to your beer.
Yeah, you're adding water to your beer. You're diluting it. The beer is taking on the characteristics of that ice that probably took in flavors from whatever was in that freezer. Beer shouldn't be had too cold, especially below freezing, because you're freezing the water content and changing the constitution of the beer. Anyway, I mean, it goes
coldest
on and
beer
on.
in town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gag.
I love that.
Yeah,
Below zero? So you're putting antifreeze in that beer? Like, how is it still liquid if it's below zero?
Yeah, you're getting
That's the alcohol talking.
Yeah.
You're getting a little bit of bacteria usually. You sometimes get ice chunks in your beer, which is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And,
pretty bad.
The other thing with it is, just thinking of that, not so much the bacteria could be pretty awful, but it also totally ruins the foam.
Yeah.
So you'll find the foam will just go right away. It doesn't stick around very long. which, I mean, that foam adds a layer of protection to your beer when you're drinking it. And I find, if the beer is supposed to pour with a bit of foam, it's generally part of the experience the brewer is going for, and it typically tastes a little better.
A lot of the aroma usually is in the head too.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things about not having frosted glasses, though, is the colder your beer, the less flavor and aroma it's going to have. The colder you make it, the worse it's going to be, unless it's a shitty beer and then you want it as cold as you can not to taste it. But you're going to hide all the really nice flavors of that Russian Imperial Stout or that IPA because they just get masked by how cold it is.
Well, and that's one of the biggest advantages, I think, to buying bottles rather than going for a draft tap is you can get that beer at the right serving temperature. Unfortunately, when you go to a pub or a brewery, they're holding all their beers at relatively the same temperatures. And as most of us know, not all styles do well at the same temperature.
Yeah. I mean, it's not realistic, but I'd almost like to see an ale and a lager cellar, basically, or whatever, so you can keep the two different temperatures. Or at least stouts. It's not going to ever happen. But it'd be nice to have your beers that should be warmer kept at a warmer temperature for serving.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, or just put them in a different spot in the cooler, right? Like if you set up your system to allow for that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them run glycol lines, from my understanding, right, with the what's it called, the beer, just to cool it down because it's serving temp through the draft. Don't you need it to be around 4 or something?
I don't remember.
I think you just adjust your pressure, right? But
I don't work in a brewery.
but even places that it's at Devil's Elbow, and no offense to them, I mean at least the beer can warm up, but they're serving their pothole filler at cold temperature.
Yeah.
Again, that's probably just because that's the only temperature they can keep it at.
Sitting there hugging my beer for 20 minutes before drinking it.
Nope. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. I mean, and this is nothing against Yellow Dog. They make a great beer. The only unfortunate thing is when you get it on draft, it comes out, their smoked porter comes out as cold as their pale ale. And it's still a great beer. You just got to let it warm up a little to really get the full flavor, unfortunately. Which is, there's worse things than waiting for a beer to warm. I've been told at least.
At least when you know that, you order yourself a plated IPA while you're
That's right.
I was just gonna say that.
Or the sours now. I mean, there's a lot of options.
Yeah, I will say going to especially a restaurant or a pub that's not a craft beer specialty, I just blatantly ask now. I'm like, do you frost your glasses?
I always
and
forget.
if they say yes, I ask for a non-frosted one, which usually gets some eye rolls. Or if they bring me one, I just ask for them to bring another one, and I don't educate them anymore because that's more eye rolls. If they ask us, certainly we'll talk about it. But yeah, no, I do find it's a bad experience, and as well a dirty glass can be, and you're not going to notice it in the taste usually, but the visual appearance can be pretty bad. Getting all those little bubbles on the side that stick to the glass is pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And especially for me, I mean, I know that's fingerprints, that's soap scum, that's something else in there, and that just kind of, once it changes the experience.
Yeah, it does.
Like, are people asking for these things though? I mean, who knows? But I'm with you.
I usually mention it. Again, eye rolls. The worst though is the fingerprint on the inside. They grab the glass like that, and you can just see the bubbles right there, and it's just you don't want that.
I might ask for a new glass of beer at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you'd be afraid of what they might do to
it. But it comes down to, like you're saying, it wrecks the experience. The only problem is we get eye rolls when people ask is the unfortunate thing. And pubs are doing a lot better job of educating their staff on what beer styles are and what beers should be had at certain seasons. But the unfortunate thing is what they're missing out on seems the sort of glassware. I shouldn't say sort of. It is the glassware.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're getting a frosted glass and then you're getting the eye roll when you ask for an unfrosted glass, there needs to be a little bit of further education there. And quite honestly, the breweries need to step up. And if they're getting their beer served in frosted glasses, it's going to hurt them in the end.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess there's only one time I haven't complained about a frosted glass, and it was because I was drinking a beer so far out. It's hard enough to get them to drink craft beer that if they'll drink it in a frosted glass, at least it's the first step, and then you can educate them later.
Mm. Yeah.
Sometimes you do need to take baby steps with people.
Yes. I've heard occasions of all kinds of threats and everything for getting rid of their favorite crappy lager, so sometimes it's baby steps when you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to respond to your market, right? So
Yeah.
as the market changes, you gotta go with it. And if people are converting from ice cold Bud Light, well,
Finally.
it's what's in the glass is more important than everything else.
Yeah, for sure.
So start there, and then work your way out.
Yeah, no glass will save a bud, and honestly, no glass will ruin a dark matter. So,
Yeah. I think, what is it again?
It's nice to have the right glass.
Something, Tree Brewing has shirts for their staff, and it's like, Bud should only be smoked, or something like that.
Only in BC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good play, though.
Yeah, and I will say, I don't know if we want to cover it off, and maybe it's a topic for another podcast. But
Just go for it.
we're kind of talking about draft versus bottles and that. I find certain beer styles, especially like saisons and stuff like that, aren't always the greatest on draft.
Agreed.
They need to be in a bottle, like a Hefeweizen especially. Generally, your draft version isn't going to be very good compared to a nice cloudy, roused wheat yeast pour from a bottle, as long as it's fresh, or as fresh as it can be. Same with Driftwood White Bark is probably the one I notice the most. If it's not in a bottle, I won't order it because it generally is, you're missing all that extra flavor in there. Yeah. It's a great beer, but when it comes poured in a fairly clear pour, you're just kind of like, it's like a crystallized and just whatever. Yeah. Not into it. So I find, I like the fact there's a lot of these tap lines going in, but I wish places would carry a few more bottled options as well.
Yeah.
I mean, certain beer.
I think one good thing is when it comes to bottle conditioned beers and bottles, I find the tap versions are almost always pretty bad. Mm-hmm. Brooklyn Brewing has a Sriracha Ace, and it's amazing in bottles. And I've had it on tap, and it's really boring. Couldn't believe how boring it was. It's not bad, but just really boring.
Yeah, that spicy yeast character and some of the esters just tend not to transfer as obviously in the draft version. So.
And the carbonation's completely different usually too.
Yeah, I remember Ben Colley at Daggerhead was trying to figure out how to do draft versions of their beers because he's a big fan of bottle conditioned bubbles. They do a pretty good job. Had some of their stuff on draft, and they do a pretty good job of trying to mirror it. Sometimes the pour's a little funny, and they got the little skinny tap that they pour it from. But they've obviously put a lot of thought into that experience.
Yeah.
But you can't beat the bottle for those.
Yeah, no.
So, out of curiosity, thoughts?
Drinking horn?
Nice.
Yep.
Have you used it before?
No, I just got it. One of our friends gave Sarah and I a set for her birthday.
Does it come in a stand?
It even comes with a belt loop.
There's a set?
It comes with a belt loop.
Is that the is that the Das Horn one?
I don't know where it's from. They took all the tags off, but it's got a belt loop. So this is my next fest mug.
Yeah, I've got the Das Horn version. Honestly, I've never actually used the damn thing, but I think I'm going to take it into Starbucks one day and see if they'll put coffee in it. I just got to measure how many ounces fits in there so I know what to order.
Yeah.
But,
just as a sort of other things to consider, sometimes novelty is just fun.
Yes, yes it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go ahead,
it's nice having the appropriate glass. It's nice getting, a well cared for glass when it's clean, not frosted. Sometimes you just want something that's kind of weird and you want to be, the dude drinking from a boot or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think behind Carnell there.
Yeah, actually, one of my favorite glasses. I forgot to bring it here. It's in my cupboard right now, but I got a picture of it here. Not very practical, but it's an awesome glass. The Quack glass.
Yeah.
The quarter yard glass, I think it is.
Yeah.
Love that glass. It's ridiculous, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned the boot, because I have to say, when you think of the best beers you have, it's usually not because the beer. Well, it's sometimes because the beer is amazing, but it's more oftentimes I find the experience that goes along with it. And one of the best beers I ever had, drinking out of it was a glass boot, but one of the first beers I had in Germany, in my brother's crappy apartment in former Soviet East Germany in Leipzig. Working on the beer blog. And it was just because it was the experience. It was just a macro German beer, but it was good because, like you say, the glass was a novelty and just where we were.
Yeah, I'm gonna try showing a glass here. Let me know if you guys can see it.
Okay.
Can you see it?
That looks like all kinds of wrong.
Yeah, it's the butt plug glass.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this pretentiousglass.com is they have some, if you're looking for just crazy interesting looking ones, they have them there. But yeah, we were in a bit of a Facebook conversation at one point about that whole process, that whole looking at that kind of thing and going, oh, I don't wonder what they were thinking with this one,
Well, I know there's some really weird knockoff versions of the Spiegel IPA glass that don't look anywhere nice as this. Seen them all over Facebook on Facebook groups lately, and it's just like, ooh, buck up for the not so expensive Spiegel.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any interesting glassware they like?
I have this one I really hate. You see this one all the time at pubs, and I was actually prior to this podcast, I was trying to find it. Like, what the heck is this thing? And it bugs me for a couple of reasons. I can't see any function for it. I might be wrong. That's what I was honestly looking to see, what the function of these glasses are. To me, it kind of looks like a half measure in between the Nonic pint sort of and a Hefeweizen glass. But I honestly think they're popular because, I mean, they don't look too bad and they hold less than a pint. But they look like they hold quite a bit.
There you go. Yeah,
that's
the key.
That's why it kills me, is because I always feel like when I get beer served in one of these, someone's trying to trick me. So I hate this glass.
Yeah.
Well, the skinny bottom is bad for foam too, but it's okay. That's okay for a Pilsner or a lager, but because it opens up and keeps opening up, which is you kind of need it to do. But
I guess if you want to talk about ridiculous glasses, another one, I don't hate it, but I never use it, is this one. I don't have it again here with me because I didn't think of it. The upside down bottle glass.
Oh yeah.
I gave you that for your birthday.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, but not practical at all.
Not very practical.
That would be a foam explosion in the bottom too, right? Just the pouring into the tiny little.
Yeah. But it's a lot of fun.
The one I don't like, and I have no reason for it, is that one that looks like a can.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I can't say why I don't like it, other than I just don't like it.
I totally agree with you. But the inward turning lip, like it goes in just as you're at the lip, it makes it a really awkward sip.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said sip, Mike, not.
I guess it depends what beer is in there, but
that's true. Yeah.
Well, and just based on the shape and size, I mean, you can't. Again, I shouldn't criticize it too much. Hasn't really used it much, but it's the same size as a 12-ounce can. How do you pour a proper beer into that?
Right.
You don't have room for the foam. So,
right. There's a brewery using it, which surprises me because most breweries, and I think this brewery in particular, I won't mention who. I mean, they make some really good beer, and like you say, how do you get the right pour in one of those? It's something I've always wondered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I've actually seen it at more than one brewery, actually.
Have you?
I don't think it's just the one you're speaking of.
What's that?
I don't think it's just the one. I think there's a couple.
Okay. Yeah, I've only seen it at the one, but I mean, it didn't wreck the beer for me either. So, I mean, there we go.
Yeah, like I said, I have no particular reason other than I just think it's pure novelty.
Yeah.
I don't see what it does for the beer.
Well, you drank out of a can before.
One of my favorites is. Yeah, one of my favorites. I have. It's just a cheap Walmart tulip glass. It's nothing special, but I think it's just a really nice glass. It looks good. I think it does good things for the beer's flavor, especially since I underpour you in it usually, and that's usually my go-to. I chose this one because it's an ESB, but
yeah, a tulip is your classic, like, works for anything glass. You can pour any beer in there, it's going to be all right. It's if you want some effect from the glass, it's probably your best option, I would say, for pretty much any beer.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really go wrong with it.
It's a good no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Alrighty.
Actually, I got one more that I really like. I don't use it that often. This one's actually a good glass. What's this one called again, Terry?
Is that Tiku glass?
Tiku glass, yeah.
I pronounce it Tiku. I don't know if it's pronounced any other way, but
good old beer for punks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my typical sour glass. I like that one for sour. Again, you don't want to warm them up too much.
I used it for this bad boy when I was drinking it.
Ooh.
A little nice. 32% alcohol, Imperial Stout. Beer for the dedicated.
Because it's a Wednesday.
Why not?
Didn't
right?
Brewdog release their all their recipes, and I heard that they had that one, and on the next page was the no alcohol beer that they've made. like really? They're apparently right next to each other, but yeah, that was pretty cool of them to release all their recipes.
Yeah, that was really cool.
PDF.
I think it's a little harder to recreate the Tactical Nuclear Penguin because it's a freeze distilled beer. So you got to be able to have something that'll freeze it properly and
I'll just bring it to my house and use my kegerator. It freezes everything.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, you really need to know how to manage yeast well to brew those high gravity crazy beers. That's
yeah. I'm just happy that there is a brewer in North Vancouver that used to work for Brewdog that used to actually deal with the freeze distilling process. So I'm hoping maybe in the future we might see something.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Really quickly, back to the sour glass. I'm glad you guys brought it up because I wanted to ask about it. It's blown up with the sours. And how does it work? Can you guys explain it to me? Because it's a new glass to my eyes. I haven't actually seen one in person yet. But
sour glass.
Well, the Brewdog glass that you just showed. I can't remember the name.
Tiku.
Oh, the Tiku, yeah.
The Tiku. So what's the idea behind that one?
Terry,
it's basically a wine glass for beer.
And it just looks real cool.
Yeah.
All right, looks cool. Holds sour beer. All right, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, compared to some of the wine glasses, it doesn't open up as wide, but it still has that aroma capture. It's kind of like if you took this and put it on a stem.
Yeah.
Well, that would be pretty close. So it opens up a little bit wider, but again, it's got a stem, so it's not going to warm up as quickly unless you hold it with the, if you hold it like that.
Yeah.
Then it'll warm up a little bit more, but if you hold it by the stem, it's good for beers you don't want to warm up so quickly. So.
And it looks badass.
Yeah.
There's that. And I don't actually have one, so my sours actually go into red wine glasses.
There you go.
Yeah, that works.
I was just looking here. According to this website, the Tiku glass is designed by an Italian sensory analyst and a top craft beer brewer for the specific reason of improving the craft beer drinking experience. So that's why.
Lots of detail.
Good old Google.
I'm glad someone's looking out for us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the only ones I haven't tried the Spiegel Hefeweizen or American wheat glass. It looks interesting.
Is that one
it's
of the
got
ones
like
that
a skinny and then it opens up pretty quickly?
Huh.
And I guarantee there's going to be more coming for every style. They're going to do that. Like this one. I mean, this doesn't have any special features beyond it's nice to hold and it has that. It's actually pretty good for something that doesn't foam up very much because you're going to get a little bit more foam when you pour it. But other than that, it's just kind of a nice functional glass for me. So
easy to warm the beer up too.
We'll see what they end up coming out with, and I buy them on sale. No, I never pay full price for these suckers. So I'm not losing money at the end of the day on them. So that's good. Yeah, the only complaint is that you got to be a little careful with them. They're not as fragile as they look, but they're certainly not as strong as a shaker. So that's another reason why they're not used very often in restaurants. They break much easier.
I don't know. I think the IPA glass that I've got, the first two I had, I broke while just trying to hand wash them in the sink, and then there's soap and everything, and I almost cut myself. They are very fragile, and they're very thin glass.
Yeah. The only good thing is it encourages you not to put them in the dishwasher, which you probably shouldn't do anyway.
Yes.
And I mostly just rinse mine right after I'm finished with them.
Yeah.
And then give them a very, very, very light soapy hand wash every now and then. But for the most part, I just rinse them in very, very hot water, give them a quick little hand wash without soap, and I find that works really well.
I think you got to remember these are made by a really fairly high-end wine glass manufacturer, so the nicer glasses are usually thin and delicate.
Yeah, actually, it's good to get. You can get these little sort of white. I don't know the material. It's almost like a foamy material for wine glasses. They work great for beer glass cleaning.
Okay. I usually just use one of those bottle brushes.
Any sort of cooking store usually has them if they carry wine glasses. They're really good.
Perfect. Anything else you guys can think of we should cover here? Or?
No, I will give a shout out to this beer. This is good. This is actually really good. The Imperial Porter there. It's got a little bit, it's barrel aged in, what do they got here? Bourbon barrels, so you get the nice vanilla and a little bit of the chocolate from the porter that you don't always get from a stout, which is quite nice. That's a good job.
Nice.
Should have bought more, especially when it went on sale.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to do that, I'll give a shout out to this one here. This, where is it here? This Cascading Dark Ale is nice because it's not super, super roasty. And they've used lots of really tropical hops. So it's nice that it has some more characteristics of a normal IPA as well as the roastier characteristics of the CDAs. It's a nice little contrast.
So, Mike, is that available anywhere around here, or do you have to go up there to pick that one up?
This is available, I think it was about 20 kilometers from the brewery in a circle. That's about it.
Okay, so I will not be getting any.
No, they are a really small brewery, and they're just currently supporting their local liquor stores. The furthest out you can get their beer, I think, right now is the Lion's Head Pub in Robson in the Kootenays, and that's because they're kind of friends of the brewery. But you got to go out into the Nelson area to try their beer, basically.
It's too bad.
By the way, that's a good pub downtown. The Lion's Head one.
Lion's Head's awesome.
Yeah, I went there. They had Deschutes Red Chair on tap. I was like, I haven't had that on tap.
It was your favorite winter beer, right?
It's up there. It's a nice. They call it a pale ale. It's more of an IPA, but a little bit spicier than your typical IPA. It's really great and cheap too for what you pay for it compared to a lot of other stuff.
The most exciting thing about the Lion's Head Pub right now, I'm pretty sure it's 100% public knowledge now, is that they're actually working towards putting in a brewery there now.
Oh, wow.
So they'll actually be a brew pub as well as having all the craft beer from all over BC in the middle of the Kootenays.
Nice.
Wow. More breweries.
More reason to go out to the Kootenays. Beautiful country. All right, I guess that's everything, isn't it?
Yep.
I think so.
I guess we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us on the 7th podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.